City Commission. Today is Thursday, May 25th, 2023. The time is 5:30 p.m. This meeting will be continued until all items are complete. Mayor, if you could start us with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we will follow that by a moment of silence to honor our veterans, members of the armed forces, and first responders.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And a little bit of housekeeping while everybody's getting settled. If you could just take a look at your cell phones, make sure they're on silent, vibrate, or turned off. And Mayor, we have some proclamations and some awards.
All right, those that are here for National Preservation Month. If you want to stand on this side, and I'll read it to you. You can hang on to the podium. Whereas nearly 50 years ago, the White House proclaimed to the nation that as the pace of change accelerates around us, Americans more than ever need a lively awareness of their roots and origins in order to have a sense of identity in the present for direction in the future. And whereas the month of May has since been designated across America as National Preservation Month, celebrating the nation's heritage through historical relics and places, and whereas historic individuals, objects, and places are well worth preserving because safeguarding their rich and lively histories perpetuates the traditions that every community cherishes. And whereas our esteemed Flagler Beach Historical Museum was formed 23 years ago to document, collect, preserve, and disseminate decades of material relating to the history of the city of Flagler Beach and its residents. And whereas their resources, archives, and exhibits and memories supply an enduring connection from our innovative past and our bright future. And whereas the City of Flagler Beach Historical Museum continues to raise our awareness of the significance of preserving our past narratives as verification for residents to treasure for generations. Now therefore, I, Susie Johnston, acting under the authority vested in me as the mayor of the City of Flagler Beach, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as National Preservation Month. Thank you. Do you want to say anything?
I would love to thank everybody, Susie and Penny and the commission. We greatly appreciate your ongoing support. Thank you.
And next we have some certificates of recognition. If we could have Officer Keith Jones, Officer Lyle Tripp, and Officer Evan Shear come to the front. Gentlemen are heroes here in town this week. Yep, same spot. And this is a certificate of recognition for your outstanding performance with your fellow officers in administering CPR until medical first responders arrived and continuing to assist after, with transferring the patients onto a backboard and gathering imperative patient information that aided in a life saved. Thank you. I don't know if everyone has seen the footage of the rescue, but it was very, indeed, lovely to have you guys help. Thank you. Do you have anything to say? Please. Tell people to be safe.
Was there?
I have.
You got one? Okay.
Don't get shy of me. Oh,
They're always late. We're used to it.
yes. I know you weren't here.
No, I have a date. It was June 25th. I'm not going to be in town.
Oh. Anyway, the city is a member of the Northeast Florida League of Cities, and that organization decided that each city could donate $500 to a 501c3 in the area that does good stuff. And so I thought that Flagler Strong met that bill. And so I happily present Flagler Strong with $500. You want to say something?
Yeah, just real quick, I just want to thank all of you, the city and all the residents for your continued support, and we're here for you any way we can be. That's all. Thank you.
Hopefully we won't need your
Yes, yes. And you will not need any disaster relief this year.
I agree.
Again, I know it's a lot of effort. There you go. Thank you.
Tracy, I'll email those to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to deletions and changes to the agenda. I spoke with the city manager, and we are pulling item 9. And do we have any other deletions or changes to the agenda?
9 was pulled for their unavailability. It'll be back when we get scheduled when the Ronins can be here. So that's why that was being pulled.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to public comment. Public comment is items not on the agenda. Citizens are encouraged to speak. However, comments should be limited to 3 minutes. And if you can, just start with your name and address. Come on up. 2 meetings in a row.
I know. Erica Rivera, 209 South 15th Street, Apartment 1. And sorry for how I'm dressed. I have to run to a class right after I make this comment. But my name is Erica Rivera. I'm president of Flagler Pride, Inc. And I mentioned during the last meeting that we were having Pride the weekend of June 10th. Now with the recent, political climate and the new laws coming into place, we had to restructure our events. So I'm using this time to just update you guys on that. We're going to have the entertainment portion on June 9th at Coquina Coast Brewing Company at 8 p.m. So Curtis at Coquina has been a big supporter of another 501c3 that I founded called the National Care Foundation, which we offer support services for domestic violence and sexual assault survivors, and he's been allowing me to use his space once a month. So we decided to open that space up for Flagler Pride to utilize for the entertainment portion on June 9th. Now, we will still be having a Pulse Remembrance Vigil on June 11th, Sunday, at Veterans Park from 6 to 8. And the founder of Fiber Pride, Erin Harris, she did want me to mention that if anyone from our city commissioners wanted to speak that evening, to please get in touch with us, and we would love to have you. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Items not on the agenda.
All known on the podium. Steve Frost. I live at 276 Ocean Palm Drive. Been living in Pelican Beach since 2013. Owned the current residence since 2015. I just want the city commission to help give me a definition of what a single-family residence is. I have a house next door that is supposed to be a single family, and yet it's rented out the bottom floor since we lived there, continually. Different renters over and over and over again. I pay taxes for single family. Isn't it single family? Help me understand that.
Okay. And is that all your public comment?
That's my comment today. I'll be back.
All right. And we will get that addressed at the end of public comment.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Items not on the agenda? All right, seeing no one close public comment. Drew, so we have a question about definition of single-family home, and then also, I think this is more zoning.
Well, and if it's short-term rental, that's a code enforcement issue. I don't know if this is single-family zoning district, then that would be violative of the code. If it's tourist commercial, it would be allowed in tourist commercial. So, and I don't know anything about the facts of the case, so it sounds like it could be a code enforcement case. As to what is single-family residential and what is not, really we can all thank the state for this one, because the state has said that having a short-term rental in a single-family residential property does not change its nature from single-family residential. So in the state's eyes, short-term rental, it's still a single-family residential structure. The state has said single-family or short-term rental does not stop something from being single-family residential. That was the 2011 legislation.
Can I clarify?
I think he asked if he could clarify.
Yes. Come on, if you can, just come on up to the mic.
We filed a complaint. Code enforcement came out and talked to us and said that the city attorney said that it's okay, it's only 2 people. It's a single-family home. All the homes on Ocean Palm Drive are single-family. I pay taxes for single-family. So I'm trying to understand that. It's not a question of short-term rental. If someone has a residence, they can rent the house as long as it's rented to another family, one family at a time. This is not what's going on here. The owner of the house lives upstairs. The downstairs was a mother-in-law's suite, which they now rent out. That's what's going on. It's single family.
I understand, but that's
Okay,
the.
let's wrap his comments up first. So you clarified that? We're good?
You understand what
Okay.
that's my clarification.
All right.
The short-term rental, even with the dual occupancy, that does not change the nature of a property from single family. Even though you have more than one family who's there at the same time, I understand. But the state has said you are allowed to do that. It does not stop being single-family residential.
And then there's other factors of length of,
short-term rental cases,
long-term.
yes. Since we're not getting the short-term rental issues, but does that mean not single-family? Unfortunately, no. More broadly speaking, and I don't remember having the conversation with John, but we've talked about what is a single family by state definition also. This is state law. It does not necessarily mean everybody is related. I think it's up to 4, it's been a while since I've looked at it, but I think it's up to 4 people not related by blood living as a single family unit. The state has said, or courts and the state have said, no, that's still a single family unit. So it doesn't necessarily mean blood relation. But what you're describing still brings into play that short-term rental statute, where whether it's a Airbnb or a VRBO type rental, the state has said, nope, you cannot treat that differently than you do the other single family residential properties in the area.
okay. And then any further interactions on that would just involve code enforcement.
Right. If it's short-term rental going on in an area where short-term rental is not allowed, that's the code enforcement issue.
Got it.
Absolutely.
So city manager, you got that also. Okay. Okay, so that answers that. We had one pending question from last public comment, and that was about the drain valve measurements. And city manager has a real good update on that as far as how those measurements, like the meeting with the groups, and if you can just share kind of the meeting you had, how all the valves are getting, kind of what came out of that meeting, because there was a lot of, or either you or Lee, if you want to defer to Lee, either one.
Yeah, I'll defer to Lee.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, Lee's had a meeting on that today, and so he can provide an update on exactly what the status is.
Yeah, there's a lot of good information that came out of that for everybody to know as a follow-up. Lee, if you could.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. We did have a meeting today with DB Civil, and it became clear to me as Jen now has this incredible vac truck. She's able to clean these and drain these storm drains very easily and quickly. The thing is amazing. So we've finally been able to get into these structures. You can't measure it until you get it drained. And unfortunately, there was high tide. You have to do it at low tide. So you have to kind of time it in that respect. But we're finding that some of the pipe dimensions that we thought were A are now B. So I sort of pulled back off of it for the time being, and I said that Vinny, Jen, and I were in the room, and we talked about this. We said, I think the best thing to do is, using the truck, we have a list of these storm drains that we're looking at. And now that we have the capability of plugging it and sucking it dry so we can get to the actual outflow pipe, we can now measure these things. So Jen is going to try to work that into her very, very busy schedule in the next few days leading into next week. And at that point, I'm going to refurbish the list that we have. And we're only talking about really 7 valves because 2 are installed already. 1 has to be relocated, but nevertheless, it's still, installed. So it's the 7 remaining ones that we want to take a really, really good look at. And before we get DB Civil back out there and they have to, drain, we're going to rethink the way we're doing this project. So that's a long-winded way of saying, by next week, we will definitely have, early next week, we will have a better game plan, and we will identify each valve. We're going to put numbers on them, and we're going to say that number 1 valve goes in that number 1 storm grate. And we're going to mark the street, we're going to mark the valve, and we're going to make sure before CVD Civil comes back that we have identified every valve, certifying that it fits into the pipe. And I would say, I'm hoping by the end of next week, this project may be finished. Certainly by the week after that, no question. So that is the game plan.
Okay, commissioners or mayor, any questions for Lee Walza?
I'm glad that we have such a definite plan now.
This is top priority for us. It really is.
I like how fast we're getting wrapped up too. It was looking grim for a little bit.
That it was. But I think we have it under control now.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
All right, that answers everything for public comment. We can move on to consent agenda, which is approve regular meeting minutes of May 11, 2023, workshop meeting minutes of May 3rd, 2023, and special meeting minutes of May 4th, 2023. Any questions or comments about the minutes? All right, public. Any public comment for any of those meeting minutes? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Look for motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve our consent agenda.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Are we going to adjourn now for the CRA?
Good call. I totally forgot about CRA. Sorry, Karen. I'm just going through agenda here. Thank you for keeping me on track. We would have just gone to the end. All right, so, Drew, we need an adjournment, right?
Motion to adjourn our regular meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. So we are adjourned, and we will start our special meeting. So this is a special meeting of the Flagler Beach City Commission, sitting as a community redevelopment agency. Today is Thursday, May 25th, 2023. The time is 5:50 p.m. And first item of business is approval of minutes from the meetings on April 13, 2023, May 11, 2023, and May 5th, 2023 workshop.
One comment that the May 5th is really May 3rd. It's correct
yes,
on the minutes.
Got it. So we have a typo on the agenda. Does everybody get that? Good catch. And any questions or comments other than that? All right. Open this up, public comment. Public comment for approval of minutes for the CRA meetings. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment.
Motion to approve item 2 on the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Karen, you mentioned you wanted to pull items 3 and 4. Is that correct? Okay. Any questions for Karen on pulling them? We all good with that?
I guess so.
All right. So we're going to pull 3 and 4. We will move to item 5, which is approval of revised small development grant for 301 South Central Avenue. Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In front of you, the revised application. What happened was Adobe, when you save it and it's signed electronically, it won't save it with the electronic signatures. And I didn't realize that. So I was able to print it out and I put it in front of you so that you could see that it had been signed and initialed in accordance to what we require.
Everybody has that copy? Okay.
Basically, what's happened is when they started doing the work at the Plaza Caribe, the contractor found additional things that needed to be repaired. They brought 2 invoices, and the invoices explain exactly what they have to do. I'm not a builder, so a lot of it is gibberish to me, but the bottom line is it's going to cost more in order to be able to do this right. So the applicant has asked us to consider revising the original application, which had a, sorry, I need my glasses. An original expenditure amount of $6,410, which is now $10,460 because of the changes that are taking place. So their original grant amount was $3,205.40. If we accept the revised and accept the new costs, then their grant would be $5,000. I personally recommend it. I mean, these are things they couldn't have seen happening, so, and the applicant's here if you have any questions.
All right, so Commissioner Bellinger.
I had a peek at the guidelines for the application, and there is a line item here. All unforeseen changes in the scope of work will be considered on a case-by-case basis. So it's nothing out of line that I can see, and it'll be nice to see it done. So I'm good.
Commissioner Spradley.
I filled out a Form 8B because my law office is in that building, but I suppose I can still comment but not vote. And I was there when these problems occurred, and they they were significant. I'm surprised that the estimate's as low as it is, but I would say they certainly need to be repaired, not just for the structure of the building, but for the look.
Any other comments? The only comment that I have is more procedural, and it is if we are revising the application significantly, then it should have all the revisions that would go with a revised application, meaning 2 quotes and supporting pictures, documentation. Because if you're making this type of change, I would think that we would want to follow the same procedure. That's my 2 cents, but that's more procedural than anything. And I also read Commissioner Bellinger, where you were talking about in the application, whereas if you start getting into something, repairs that are part of the improvement that's covered, and it's unforeseen. That was the only comment I had. Applicant, did you have any comments you'd like to share? If you can, just state your name and address for the record.
Tracy Callahan Hennessy, 312 North 11th Street, Fargo Beach. It's even since I said that to Karen, and Scott will tell you, it's gotten worse. It's just 10, 15 years of lack of maintenance on certain things. One of the biggest issues that we didn't know was water had been getting in between the stucco on the north side of the building. So rather than just patching a few areas, all that stucco needs to be come down and be already stuccoed. One of the major issues that we didn't know about in the original estimate as well was when they got there, they said, in photos, I was saying, like, all of you drive by this every day, it looks awful. I need to get it finished, whether we get the grant or not. But the faux balcony was rotting and actually very dangerous. So that was, we bit the bullet and just took that down right away. So it's way above that now, and I know that the max grant is 5,000, so we're just like, that's where we're at. So we're going to be doing an assessment, and we will be getting it all done and looking much better one way or another. So, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion or comments?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with what you said, that if she's in the middle of if Tracy and whoever else is involved, to tell her that she now needs to go out and look for 2 new quotes in the middle of a project. I don't see that happening. She's already hired somebody, and it's that somebody who found these additional problems. So that's all.
Anything else? We'll open this up to public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak on this agenda item? All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment. Further discussion or motion?
Motion to approve the revised small development grant for 301 South Central.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Well, yeah, one abstention.
Scott, abstained.
Motion to adjourn.
Can I, Mr. Chair, may I just give you 2 updates that are important?
Sure.
The first thing, remember when we did the change order number 2 for the not to exceed amount on the replacement of the lights? I was not able to put it on this agenda, but it will be on the June agenda. We just received a deductive change order for $11,000. So I just
like those.
Yeah, I like those too. And to let you know that the first 10 that we sent back to King Luminaire have arrived, and they are being installed as we speak. They started today. The others have already been sent back, so we should be fine finishing up by July 1. Absolutely.
So what was the deduction for?
They didn't use it on. They didn't have to charge us as
So,
much.
so some of the posts they didn't have to chisel out.
They,
to the degree
no, they
that
had
the
to
first
chisel them out, but they got so good at it, they didn't spend that much time on it. He's an honest contractor. I'm really
Well,
glad.
it's nice to know.
Yeah.
We'll keep that in mind. if
Yeah,
name
I
comes
got you.
around.
Because there's more. And that was both updates. Anything else you need to cover?
No, that's it.
Okay, I'll try again. Motion to adjourn.
Sorry, Commissioner.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned, and we will restart our regular meeting, and we will pick up at general business. Consider appointments to the Flagler Beach Police Pension Board for the commission-appointed seats in which the terms are scheduled to expire. And Penny, is that yours?
Penny, do I have to fill out one of them too now? I guess so, huh?
He's one of the appointees.
I can't vote myself on the board, right?
You don't have to do an 8B for appointment to boards. There's no financial interest in it. It's not a paying board, so only if there's a financial interest would you have to do an 8B.
All right. Okay.
Which one is this? This is the Police Pension Board. Commissioner Bellhumer and Ms. Hackett have both expressed their interest in serving another term. I've spoken to Ms. Hackett. She's not able to be here tonight, but she hopes you'll consider her reappointment.
And she's been very good member of the board. She's participated quite a bit, being a retired police officer herself.
All right, any other discussion on that?
And Mr. Bellhumer does a good job, too.
No other discussion? All right, I'll open this up to public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak on item 7? Seeing no one, will close public comment. Further discussion or motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Rick Bellhumer and Laura Hackett to the commission-appointed seats on the Police Pension Board for the term of June 1st, 2023 through May 31st, 2025.
Second.
Had to think about it.
No.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimous.
And the next one is for the Fire Pension Board, and Commissioner Mealy has expressed her interest in serving another term. Mr. Creel is, I guess, retiring from the board, and he let the secretary know that. And at our previous meeting, when you were considering planning board applicants, one of those applicants was a firefighter and on a firefighters union board, I think in Daytona.
Yep.
And you suggested I reach out to him, which I did, and he is interested in serving on the board. He is working a shift tonight, so he couldn't be here, but hopes you'll consider the appointment for him.
Commissioner Mealy.
I have to disclose that I spoke with Mr. Garrett. It
Yeah,
said-
I did ask in the email that you do
Yeah.
disclose.
So I'm disclosing that I did speak with him.
All right, questions or discussion?
Does that preclude me from voting?
No.
Okay. Yeah, no. I don't know. It's somewhere it said.
I asked you to,
Yeah,
just
okay.
for clarity.
And he wrote us each an email.
Yeah, we got emailed today.
All right, we'll open this up to the public. Any members of the public wish to speak on agenda item 8? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. And any further discussion or a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Jane Mealy and Alex Garrett to the commission-appointed seats on the Fire Pension Board for the term of 6/1/23 through 5/31/25.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. All right, we pulled item 9, and we'll move on to item 10, which is stormwater maintenance plan update. Jennifer.
Hello.
What's happening?
Good things with it, except for the beginning of the week, but
Now you've been busy with that big truck you got.
we've been trying to, even on a water break on Tuesday, I believe it was.
Nice.
Yeah. Since we have our back trailers being serviced, came in handy. So it was the second day that it was out and second day the truck was here, so it came in useful. But we've gotten 7, 8 drains, mostly on the south end of town, some up in town due to the tide. And now we're going to work on the valve project and get those cleaned out and the pipe size verified. So we're going to pretty much focus on that and then go back to our schedule for the storm drains.
And this list that you have, is this a comprehensive list or is this a phased project where once you get this done, you'll move on to another area?
Yes. So we started on the south end of town, like where the major flooding areas were and ones that we normally have not been able to do with our small equipment. So we were focusing on the ones that we've never been able to really accomplish anything, and this truck can do it. So it's ones that's really never even been cleaned out. So those are the high priority ones. So we made like a high priority list, put it in phases where, work our way north and west, so.
Okay.
Okay, we've rented this truck for 1 month with the idea that if it's as wonderful as you say it is, that we should look at purchasing it.
It's an option. We don't have to have one built. We can choose to purchase this one since we already know how to operate it, and it has everything we are going to have on the one we would purchase anyways.
And you seem very pleased with.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Such
It does a lot of the
smile.
work.
That's a big smile.
It does all the work for you. It does all the work for you.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Bellinger?
The upper areas of the CRA,
We did today.
they all, or not they all, but some of them end up underneath the parking lot on 5th Street. Correct? Isn't there like an underground storage
There is.
there? Has that ever been able to be cleaned out? Just imagine the sand that's washed down
There's
through
no-
the storm drains into it.
Yeah, I don't know where the actual storm drains are in there. I know there's like little valves with tubes that go into some sort of system. I don't have any paperwork for a map of how that system even works. So,
I would think that would be a good target, considering that that's not just one storm drain, that's a bunch of storm drains going into one tank. So,
I know there's a bunch of access points, but I don't.
yeah,
I've seen
hopefully there's something somewhere written down. Maybe Karen can find it.
I have.
That was done a very long time ago.
Well,
I remember, but it's way too long ago though.
I just need to know which phase it was, because there was C2,
That I wouldn't know.
CV,
I can just give you a
ACD.
location.
I probably have it, so I'll look. Stop by and see me Tuesday, and
Okay.
I'm just suggesting that would be a
It's a good
target.
suggestion. I honestly forgot that system is even there because there's no drain available for
Right.
it.
So, okay, that's all I got.
Commissioner Spradley?
Just an observation. This kind of good news, about the truck and how it's doing, and I appreciate Mr. Abels on his job and his role in this, and also Lee Richards on his report earlier. These nuggets of good news are a great change to see here. I know the residents really appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, and Vinny's also did some training, so he's done a couple of his lift stations. And so this month will save some money too in that direction, not just mine for the truck. So just a little extra information.
And
on
just for the public to know, with what happened earlier in the week over by the car wash, there were several complaints about it, but we did get one email from a resident in that area praising Jennifer and her crew of how quickly they, in the pouring rain, managed to get it fixed. And so.
Turned back on as quickly as we could.
Yeah, she said, I got my water back in 2 hours in that horrible weather, you know, and she was really praising you.
It's our job to work in the rain or shine, so we appreciate whoever she was. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? City manager, is there a way we can do a PSA with this schedule so the public knows this whole schedule of these items?
Yes, and it's on our website, I do believe. We've posted it, but we'll get it as much public relations as we can, because we do definitely want the citizens to understand we're coming.
Right, and this is a good thing for our citizens, and
yes,
but it would be rather odd to see a giant vacuum show up in front of a house and them not know it.
I had a gentleman that came out and he was looking at that thing like, what in the world are they doing? Why are they in front of my house? So he had no clue.
And one thing I would, Commissioner Mealy, you mentioned about 1 month. We have an option of going a second month, so we may.
Do we? Oh,
yeah, we'll take a look at it this month and see what we want to do, and then with the potential going a second month on the lease.
Okay.
And so we do have a possible extension.
Thank you.
Good info. Any other discussion? All right. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you for allowing us to have it for the month. Oh, I will.
All right, no action needed on that, but I will do public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak on that agenda item? All right. Quiet crowd tonight. Yep, you got a lot of smiles on that one. It's a step forward. It's a good thing. All right. All right, there you go.
Gary Lynn McDaniel, South Daytona Avenue. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody, finally.
All right, thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak on this agenda item?
That's the kind of public comment that I like.
Yep. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. All right, we will move on to quarterly budget report for period ending March 31st, 2023. Rhonda.
My turn, okay.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Oh, well.
All right, so this report is through the end of March. So at that point in time, we're halfway through the year. Now we're like getting into budget, and so this year's been flying by. So just a few comments on each of the funds and how our revenue streams are flowing in, as well as our expenses and how they're all related.
Rhonda, could you just pull the mic a little bit closer?
Better?
Yeah.
Oh, apologize. Okay, so in general fund, overall revenues have exceeded expenditures by $2.2 million. Even though, particularly in the general fund, we've incurred a little over $82,000 of expenses, and that is net of insurance proceeds that we have received. The ad valorem sales and use tax make up 84% of the year-to-date general fund revenues, and through the end of March, we've received approximately 93% of our ad valorem revenue, or $4.4 million. Other revenue streams in the general fund, we've got license and permits, and what's included in there are LBTRs, or reviews on permitting related to zoning and golf cart registrations, and that's at 54%, so that's about right where we need to be since half the year is over. So I anticipate that to for sure be on track and potentially exceed budget. Intergovernmental collections are at 34%. These will typically run a little bit behind because there's a 2-month lag in regards to when we actually receive those revenues from the state. So that would be the half-cent sales tax, the motor fuel rebate, the VOCA grant reimbursement, and like I said, so we're really kind of reporting through the end of January through March, even though it's March year-to-date. So those run 2 months behind. Our charges for service, that's special events and junior lifeguard fees, which make up 82% of that budget. The trend is below our 50% at 21%, but that's now that we're in the summer months and the lifeguard program is kicking in, the junior lifeguard program is kicking in, and all of our special events, that's when a lot of the revenue will start showing up. So I would imagine the next quarter report, we'll see that source of revenue a little bit better. Fines and forfeitures, that includes parking tickets, court fines, and we're right at 52%, so a little bit over what we need to be trended at. So, and we do see a substantial increase usually over in the summer months with all our tourists and residents in town and at the beach. Miscellaneous revenue, this is, it's at actually 197%, but this is where we've received the insurance proceeds from the Hurricane Ian. So that's going to show there. We've received approximately $287,000 in insurance proceeds in the general fund. And the other big piece here is interest received on our investment account. It's amazing that we've made so much money on just an interest in the first part of the year, $167,000 on our accounts, where last year we saw nothing but loss. So we're definitely on the right trend, hopefully making up for what we've lost last year. And as far as capital improvements for the quarter, just a couple little recaps there. We're still working, on the dune walkovers due to the hurricane damage, and the golf course repairs are, I think the roof is done. They just still need to do the inside in regards to the golf course. And as far as like some of these listed aren't necessarily general fund, but we've got well 16 that's going to be starting. We're going to be using ARPA dollars for that. Seems like we're making a little bit of progress with the wastewater treatment plant. And then another big piece is the wick line windows and doors. Those should be, or if not completed, Lee, wick line, just the doors? Not quite yet. The doors is the only piece, correct? Yes. Windows are done. So just waiting on the doors. In the CRA fund, as you all know, revenues for the CRA are generated by the tax increment funding. The city, the Flagler County, and East Coast Mosquito Control contribute a portion to the ad valorem that they earn to the CRA district. This year, the CRA was budgeted to receive $468,000, which is almost 24% increase over the amount of revenue that we received last year. So the year-to-date actual ad valorem received in the CRA is $466,000, or 99.5% of that budgeted revenue. So overall, the CRA revenue is exceeding expenses by $262,000. As far as the some capital projects, Karen just talked about the decorative street lighting that will hopefully get wrapped up here very, very soon, so that's great. And then the small and large redevelopment grants and small business beautification seem to be moving right along as well. Okay. Next page, building code inspection. As of March 31st, revenues have exceeded expenses by $153,000. The department has actually collected 72% of their anticipated $444,000 of budgeted for licenses and permitting fees. Hopefully we'll get the preserve in there. We'll make a little bit even more money. The pier. The pier is currently, of course, operating 7 days a week, but unfortunately we'll be closing down June 1st. So since due to the hurricane damage, and that has a huge, huge effect and has drastically impacted the revenues over at the pier. However, we did receive insurance proceeds on the pier of $485,000. So we're just going to bank that and put that in our pocket as our portion of the FEMA claim, so that we've got some money set aside for that. As usual, unfortunately, expenditures exceed revenues by about $459,000, and this is mainly due to the pier design. There is a little bit of funky Pelican dumpster pad in there, but it's due to the hurricane expenses of $176,000.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Commissioner Bellinger has a question.
Yes, sir.
You're talking about funky Pelican
Yep.
expenditure.
Yep.
Don't we get Punky Pelican revenue? Is that in here?
That's going to fall in, I was going to address that once we get to these individual pages there. Is that okay?
Okay.
Is that all right? If we wait till we go to?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, all right.
I was curious where that Punky Pelican revenue and so.
Yeah, so we get monthly rental, and then once they have sales over $1 million, then we get anything over that, we get 3%. So that 3% we just billed last month, so that 3% is just now starting to kick in, and that'll be in the miscellaneous revenue piece.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, not a problem. So we as far as peer passes, we have refunded those individuals that came forward if they wanted a refund. Total refunds issued were only around $2,500.
I thought that would be more.
I did too, because I think we had originally forecasted like around $10,000 to $15,000, but no, it was only about $2,500. Okay, utility fund. Utility revenues are at 18.25% compared to the 50% threshold. This is due, in fact, that the grant revenue and the proceeds from the wastewater treatment plant loan we haven't received, so that's going to throw off those revenues altogether. So if we take out the loan proceeds and the grant money, our utility service revenue is at approximately 45%. Couple things that are driving it, we're in a month in arrears, and then we didn't adopt the new rates until a month after. So we're going to be running a little bit behind. We are continue to see increases in our utility revenue based on the meter project. So that seems to be coming across. We're seeing, what is it, Chris, about $100,000 a month extra? Right. So we're definitely seeing the revenue there from the meter project in regards to that. So overall, revenues are exceeding expenditures by about $712,000, even though there's hurricane expenses in there of approximately $290,000, which we're in the process in getting all those hurricane expenses recorded and into FEMA. So hopefully we'll be seeing some money coming back in that regard. We did actually receive another insurance check that will be reflected in Q3, but we received $130,000 of insurance proceeds for the lift station we had to replace over at Snack Jacks. In the sanitation fund, sanitation revenues are slightly under the 50% threshold. They're about 47%. Again, it's like we're running 1 month in arrears, and we're a little bit behind adopting the resolution in regards to the revenue. So expenditures in the sanitation fund are exceeding revenues by $174,000, but there's $186,000 worth of hurricane expenses that we expect to get back from FEMA. So that's driving the unfavorability there. Stormwater fund, revenues are currently at 40%. However, charges for actual stormwater services are at 45%, just slightly below the 50% mark. Same reason there, as far as the month lag and the adoption of the rate increase in utility. Fund revenues are exceeding expenses by $250,000. Any questions there? Okay. On the next pages, I'll go over the encumbered, restricted, and available cash balances, as well as the investment report, and then the budget line transfers. Okay. So the detail in the next few pages is basically by fund. You can see the line item detail as far as each fund goes, and at the bottom you can see where that $2.2 million favorability, where the revenues exceed the expenses. There are a few departments that are a little bit behind the 50% threshold. I did add into this just for your own information. Usually we just have the original budget, amended budget, and then where their activity is. I did add that encumbered column, so that column basically relates to any purchase orders that we already have out in system. So we are assuming if we've got a PO out there that we're going to be spending the money. So I just wanted to put that in there for your own information so that we do have POs that are sitting out there that are waiting to be spent. So overall, in the general fund, like I said, revenue does exceed expenses by the $2.2 million. I did, as far as like the items that were encumbered, I took a look at a lot of that, and it's a lot of bigger projects, like in maintenance. They have a PO sitting out there for like $333,000. I mean, we know the windows and doors are going to be done. We know that they're going to be paid. It's just not hitting the actual yet. Another big expense that's currently sitting out there was with IEM. They're the third party that's helping us put together all the FEMA claims. We are under contract with them. The contract was extremely high. We still have over $500,000 sitting out on an open PO to pay them, but we are very, very diligently working, trying not to use that money. It is reimbursable by FEMA, yes, but we don't know when we'll get that money back. So Chris has been working very, very hard to work with these folks and only use them when we absolutely have to use them. So, and we've been pretty conscious in regards to what we're spending in that regard. So that's why we've got the $500,000 still sitting there. My goal is not to spend for sure that much money. The other big project that's sitting out there in general fund is the fiber optic loop. ARPA money is supporting that project. We still have a little over $200,000 left on POs in order to finish up that project. Let's see, what a couple other ones that we have out there. Some street lighting in roads and streets, but that's going to be taken care of in April, so a lot of that will be spent. And there's a lot, there's fuel, there's vehicle repairs and maintenance, there's vehicle purchases, so there's a lot that's sitting out there, yes, but the bigger projects, we know that we're going to be spending a lot of that money in regards to those encumbrances out there. Anybody have any questions on general fund? No? Okay. All right. In the CRA fund on the next page, you can see there that the revenues do exceed expenses again by $262,000. The percent realized as far as the spend is only at 17%, but Karen's got a little of some big projects, the street lighting, that's going to be finalizing that up. The big piece of this that's not going to be spent is $340,000 for, it was a FERDAP grant, Karen? For Wickline Park, right. So we're not going to get the grant money of $170,000, but we're not going to have the expense of $340 either, so that'll fall back into her reserve. A couple other projects that she had out there that we can maybe ask her. There was $20,000 for some glass mulch she was going to be using in the CRA and $52,000 for solar impact street lighting. So depending if that's spent or not, that'll all fall back into her reserve.
So if we're not doing those projects, then it just stays in reserve until...
Yes, so whatever projects that, or any monies that we don't spend, it will fall back into the reserve at the end, yes.
And we got a head shake no on those projects, so they will be going in reserve.
Yes, yep. So like when we go to budgeting, if there's projects that we budget this year that we didn't get to or just couldn't get to, those projects will, yes, they'll fall into the reserve, but then we'll take the money out of the reserve when we go to budget next year, so that we're not double dipping.
The different projects.
No, so let's say if we budgeted $100,000 for a sewer project, let's say. We didn't spend the money in 22-23, those funds will fall to the reserve. because we didn't have the time or manpower to do it next year, we want to rebudget the same project in 23, 24. We will just take the money out of reserve rather than funding it elsewhere.
I get that, but with the CRA, some of the projects that you mentioned, we already said we don't want them to be done at all.
Okay.
So that money will go back into reserves. And
Yes.
then if Karen suggests, or we suggest some new projects for next year, can that money be applied to that?
Be taken out of the fund balance
CRA
for
Director, why don't
reserve.
you come on up?
The CRA works a whole lot different than the other funds. She's the expert.
I'm back there going,
No?
Yeah.
Yes.
no, the line items that you're speaking about, the mulch, the street furniture, all of that was what we thought we were going to spend it on this year. The CRA board had a meeting and decided what their priorities are for this year, where that money will go to. So even though in the comments in the budget worksheets that you have, it may say mulch or whatever, we will be spending some of that money on other projects.
Okay.
However, anything that is not spent this year does go back to the general, to the fund balance. Wickline Park, we're going to reapply. So the $170,000 that came out of our reserves from the CRA to match that will go back into the fund balance and then will be rebudgeted during 23-24. If there's additional money in the fund balance, you've already created priority lists and said, Karen, go find money. So that's basically the way it's going to go.
I think that's kind of what I was saying.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Did that help?
Any other questions while CRA Director's up there? No? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Karen. Okay, we're moving on to Building Code Inspection Fund. We've already referenced their revenues being a little over 75%, so they're in good shape there. Expenses, they've only spent about 35% of their budget. As of right now, the big purchase that's still hanging out there is a new vehicle that is in the budget that Rick is trying to get ordered right now. So, and that, I believe, is like $50,000. So that would bring, if he had ordered the truck and in the system, that would have brought him up to about 46%. So once he gets that truck ordered, he'll be in better shape there. Okay. So on the next page is the Pier Fund. And Commissioner Bellhumer, the Funky Pelican will fall into that miscellaneous revenue line of $120,000. That is the budget for the Funky Pelican, okay? But since we received the payout on the pier, we put it in that line item as well. So the Funky Pelican right now is at about $45,000. And like I said, we've got the rent is billed monthly, but that 3%
Yeah,
is
I just
usually-
didn't recognize it.
Right, so that's where that line item is at.
Where it went.
Okay. And then the expenses were close to 60%, and that the biggest piece is Moffitt Nickel for the pier design. So we're still seeing an unfavorability. The revenue is not exceeding the expenses at this point in time, so we're unfavorable $459,000. In the utility fund, overall utility fund, like I had stated previously, where revenues actually exceed expenses by about $712,000. The revenue just for water service, sewer, stormwater is running about 45%. And you can see where we've got some grant revenues and whatnot that haven't been recognized because we haven't received the money. So like in the $1.4 million up at the top for the grant revenue, we've got the screw press at $850,000, and then the St. John's Water River Management grant of $500,000 that we haven't received actual payment on yet. Yes.
That $4.5 million grant that we got, where does that fall?
Well,
I know we haven't gotten it yet.
that'll be a nice day to see that check, right? Lee, that's a reimbursable grant, sir?
That is, yeah, that's 100% reimbursable. It's
So we have to spend the money.
we have to spend it first, then we we apply for a reimbursement, and then we get it back.
Okay, is that part of the governor's budget, the state budget?
That is, yes, it's not federal, it's state.
It's state.
Yes.
And has the governor, I haven't heard that the governor signed the budget yet. Every day I get emails, he signed this bill, this bill, this bill, but I haven't seen anything about the budget
I
yet.
haven't either. I don't think he has.
Okay. All right.
I will say the plan was signed by the mayor. We sent it back up there, so we're pretty close to getting the green light on going over that.
Until the governor signs the budget.
Well, I don't know about that.
Okay. That's the politics end of it.
Okay, let's see what else we got here. Oh, expenditures in the utility fund, they're only at about 12.32%. We've got $1.4 million in the hopper as far as POs. Some of the big projects that POs have been created but not fully spent. We've got well 16, the design as well as the construction. We've got well 15 funds that are still out there. Some repair and replacement on some fire hydrants. What's another big one? We've got the manhole purchase and installation. At this point in time, that was still sitting out there, is not paid, but it did get paid in April. And then we've got some money for some lift station upgrades, which will be funded by ARPA projects as well. So we've got some big projects out there that are just waiting in the hopper to get executed and paid. And some of the bigger ones that are really low, like the wastewater treatment plant, it's got the $7.2 million in that plan as well as the $1 million. So we have that, very, very little of that has been paid yet. And then in sewer collection, we've got the $500,000 grant that the project's out there, but that has not been paid either.
That's the slip line?
Yes, ma'am. So we got a lot of stuff out there.
Well, that's 500,000. That's half a sewer collection, but we're only at 7.7% right now. What else we got going on in sewer collection that we're so far behind on it?
Now, where's my other sheet? The other piece that is in there, Commissioner, is there was a reserve that was set up for $300,000 that we'll put that in the reserve at the end of the year. We have that planned out in the next 5 years, $300,000 as a reserve for sewer infrastructure.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and I guess, Mr. City Manager, we got some better news on wastewater. We'll have some news coming on the wastewater treatment plant soon, as far as getting the ball rolling over there.
Well, the ball is actually rolling. I mean, it's under the wastewater treatment plant's under design, and you'll be getting a report soon about the overall update on the construction plans. So, but it's underway. I mean, it's.
We've been waiting a while. You've been here for a couple months, but we've been hanging on for how many years?
Forever.
So when they start moving some dirt over there, then we'll really be happy.
Well, these, and again, I understand it has taken a while, but these type of construction projects that are dependent upon state funds and federal funds do take a long time. And the plan design and to get the environmental clearances and to get the actual design for the plant. So it is moving. One of the things that we've made a process on is trying to go to a construction manager at risk versus just to bid the project. So going that direction does take a while to get the contract documents in place. So I do, encourage you to understand that it really does take a long time.
I get the overall wastewater treatment plant. I get that. We got pretty good appropriation from the state, 3 years ago almost, for the screw press, and that's supposed to have been underway by now. So I guess maybe with redesigns, they just haven't figured out how they're going to do it yet.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're looking at trying to do is currently we do not have an EOC, centralized EOC at the city. But what we can do, and what I've asked our engineer to do, is look at the prospect of taking the current building that's being used by the wastewater treatment plant administration, and to design that when they move out, to design that building such that that could be used for a citywide EOC, where it'd be where we could centralize public works, police, fire, and the main operations of the city in one location. It would be protected from the from the storm surge that would come during any hurricane, and we would be able to then deploy from one location and would have a centralized control. That's under design, and that actually just started. So we made that decision to have a redesign on that and incorporate that within what the wastewater treatment plant construction will be.
I just hope that part of what we hear will be about that screw press, because we sold that to Tallahassee, saying we were going to get out of these drying beds several years ago, and that doesn't necessarily, that can be connected into whatever they end up, whatever the wastewater treatment plant ends up being. So I just hope we get that in action soon.
I'll provide a report to the commission on that, so you know exactly what the status is.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mike.
Any other questions? Oh, no, that's fine. Any other questions on utility fund? No, okay. Sanitation fund, like I said, expenses are outweighing the revenues in this regard, and that's mainly due to the hurricane expenses for all the debris removal. That was over $186,000. So if we didn't have that in there, he would be running in the black there. So hopefully I know those projects has been specifically submitted to FEMA, and they've gotten all the paperwork that they need, and I think it's just a matter of them putting their stamp of approval on that. The stormwater fund.
Do you have a question?
Yes. Yep.
The intergovernmental, what is that, Beverly Beach?
You got to turn your mic on.
Oh.
Back to sanitation.
Back to sanitation.
The intergovernmental, that's zero.
Okay, so the original budget is zero. That amended budget is, we did recognize some revenue coming back from FEMA. That's what that $80,000 are. But we have since amended what we originally submitted, because there was outstanding invoices for Crowder Gulf and Tetra Tech that we had to submit a second request.
I just didn't know what intergovernmental was. So, so any Beverly Beach charges are under charges for service, I suppose.
That is correct, sir.
Okay. And then the encumbered 600-some thousand is mostly for trucks, I'm assuming, as well.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Nope. Stormwater. For stormwater, revenues are exceeding expenses by $250,000. That intergovernmental line up at the top for the $100,000 is the resiliency grant that is 100% reimbursable. Once we start expending those funds, then we can request for reimbursement. So we do have a contract with Mead and Hunt for that, for the plan, so they're starting to move on that as well. So that is included in the encumbered $720,000. Trying to see if there's some other things out there that, so the other big encumbered items in the stormwater fund, we've got flood mitigation for South Flagler Route 100 to South 7th. That's a little over $100,000 there. And another flood mitigation project for South Flagler 9th to 13th, and that's almost $300,000. And then we've got a debt service that the PO is sitting out there that we have to repay our loan.
Yeah, plus we got another 100 grand we'll be paying, what is it, CB Civil or whatever it is, 150,000 there. Maybe it's more than that with all the valves.
Oh, that's going to be, the valves are in T&D,
Okay.
I believe. Lee, in T&D, the valves,
It's not in stormwater?
or is it in stormwater? Is it in stormwater? Okay, sorry.
Okay, but that kind of covers it then.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions in regard to stormwater?
No.
Okay. So this next page is just basically an overall recap with all funds, all revenues and expenses. Revenues are exceeding our expenditures by about $2.9 million. Okay, the next page is basically a snapshot of our unrestricted cash balance. Jane, did you see I took rainy day fund off of there? So you can see where our total cash balance is $26,302,000 and change. We do have restricted funds of $8.5 million, so we can only use those for specific projects and needs. We've got debt service out there of $472,000, so that's a repayment of our SRF loans and any loans that we have out there, as well as, and then this budgeted projects, this is basically projects that we have budgeted that we plan on spending the money. So that's about $7.9 million. So that would leave our unrestricted cash balance at $9.4 million. So if we do not do some of these budgeted projects, then that cash balance, those funds will fall to the cash balance. Any questions there? Okay. The next spreadsheet is just a quick snapshot of where we stand with our ARPA funds. Our budget was about $2.5 million. We've only spent about $806,000. The big projects out there are the pump station rebuilds and then well 16. Those are some big projects that are still, hopefully, I mean, we've got to get them done by the end of next year. So those will all take place. So we are a little bit over right now as far as that $21,000 over our budget, but we will be able to offset that. The citywide fiber optic loop should come in a little bit favorable, so we'll get that covered. We will not go over budget, I promise. On the next page is the quarterly cash investment report. You can kind of see the rate of return on each of our investment accounts. We've got the Florida Prime, and that current rate of return is 4.84%. As of 10/1/22, we had $9.1 million, and now we're up to over $10 million in those Florida Prime accounts. The municipal investment account, our rate of return was 4.16%. At the beginning of the year, we were at $7.8 million, and now we're about $7.95 million. So we are definitely making some good interest on those accounts. And then finally, for our truest operating accounts, you can see we had $6.5 million at the beginning of October, and we're at $8.742 million. In those, the truest account does include the ARPA funds, so those are in our truest operating accounts. And our rate of return is 0.19%, but we know that going in that we're not going to be making a whole lot of money there. No. Any questions there? Nope. Okay. And then just these last few sheets, these are just some of the budget amendments that, for your own information, that were completed. Most of the biggest ones are for the resolution for all the encumbrances on there, and just maybe a few slight moves within a department that we needed to cover POs. So nothing coming out of reserves. That will always come to you. Any kind of budget amendment like that. So. Any questions for me?
Good job.
Yeah. Good? Okay.
Very thorough.
All right. Well, thank you for your...
You can breathe now.
I know, right? You think I just got water in there, huh?
There's tricks.
Well, don't breathe yet. Let's open this up for public comment.
Okay.
Any members of the public wish to speak on this agenda item? All right. Bob, no?
Huh?
All right. Seeing no one close public comment, you can breathe now.
Oh, shut up.
Great job, Brenda.
All right, next item we have is approve the revised First Friday management contract. CRA Director.
Okay. If you recall, when we did the budget last year, we had First Fridays in the CRA. And God bless you. Mr. Woodson had sat down with me and with Vern Shank to discuss what we could do to help him, because basically after a year of doing this, he was making $450 a month. And because of the history with the CRA and First Fridays, we suggested that we would contribute. And the amount that we would contribute would be $500 per month for each band. We would pay for the police, and we would pay for maintenance. And I know in the original agreement, there was a 75-25 split, where the city would get 25% and he would keep 75%. Well, making $450 a month doesn't leave him much after 25% is taken out. So we agreed that we would strike that. Well, then I go and find out that I can't spend the money. You remember that? Mm-hmm. So now it falls on the general fund. Hurricanes hit, everything got put on the burner, and a new agreement was never drawn up between the city and Vern. So I took the old contract, didn't change much, just changed the agreement as to what was agreed between Mr. Woodson, myself, and Vern, as far as what we would contribute. And the money is sitting in the general fund because that was part of the budget amendment when I told you I couldn't pay for it. But the contract was never re-signed. So I went back, went through it, sent it to Vern, sent it to the city attorney. Vern was fine with it. The city attorney made some changes, which is what you have in front of you now. And we're asking you to approve this contract because it should have been done back in probably November, but unfortunately everything happened and it was sort of put in the back burner. So if you have any other questions, just please ask them. Oh, and Vern apologizes, and I think you all know why. He couldn't make it here tonight.
How's he doing, do you know?
A lot better.
A lot better? Good.
Is it a lot better?
A lot better.
Yeah.
Questions or comments?
I had some, but I already asked Karen, so.
No?
So, from what I can see from the strikeouts, don't see any real underlines.
And a lot of those strikeouts, the red lines is actually my revisions to what was provided to me. So those aren't necessarily changes from old to new. That's changes that I made to the draft that I saw.
And most of it was formatting.
So when this motion is made, is this a as amended? No? Okay.
Unless you make changes tonight, it's just approved as it's before you.
Okay. Everybody's good with it? Yeah. Open this up to the public. Any members of the public wish to speak on agenda item 12? See no one, will close public comment. Further discussion or motion?
Motion that we approve the revised First Friday management contract.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have approve a contract with Brooks and Dunn Grant Consulting for preparation of grants management policy. City Manager.
Thank you. Before you is a contract with Brooks and Dunn Grant Consulting Company, and this contract really will do one thing. It will allow the city to have a grants management policy written and that implements really a process by which grants can be monitored, they can be managed within the city, and we can have a compliance process put in place that will allow us to ensure that we don't run into what I call audit problems with the millions of dollars that we have coming into the city through numerous grants. Attached to the recommendation, I've provided you with a listing of grants that we have that we manage centrally right now, but we also have other grants. The listing does not include any grants that we would have through police and fire, and they also should be included in a grants management policy. Now, in 2009, the city did, in fact, write and have approved a grants management policy, a very small one that seems to be that was oriented towards community development block grant policy. The policy that was put in place does not cover what we would want today. We need really a comprehensive means of managing all the grants that we currently have and that we will have in the future. You just mentioned the $4.5 million grant that we're going to get from the state. We're getting millions of dollars of grants through the federal government. But I stopped this process after we get the grants management policy. As I recommended to the commission during our budget hearings in our strategic planning process, I think it's necessary that the city would put into place a grants management policy, that we have a process to ensure that we can write new grants when they become available, such as through the TPO, through Fish and Wildlife that we're trying to work with now on sand fencing. And we really don't have that mechanism in place. But I think that is essential for the new city manager, and let he or she make the decision how they would like to put that in place. But if you approve this tonight with this grants management policy contract, this will give us the mechanism by which we can ensure that we're going to be in compliance with grants, and we'll be able to manage all the grants that we have that are currently coming into the city, as well as the future ones that will also be coming into the city. So it's my recommendation that we implement this contract with Brooks and Dunn. I listed on the sheet, Brooks and Dunn does grants management for a number of cities in Volusia County as well as in Flagler County. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions or discussion?
I just think it's a great idea. When you look at that list.
It's definitely excellent. And how long would it take them to put this policy together, do you expect?
I would not give a specific date, but I would say it'll be several months. It'll take, and we have a grants management team of city employees that are going to work with the principle of Brooks and Dunn to be able to make sure that we keep the process going as fast as we can.
Okay.
But I would recommend that what we do, I want to make sure this is a very comprehensive policy and we cover all the bases.
Yeah.
So it'll be several months.
Okay.
Is my estimate.
What's my only question? Thank you.
Commissioner Spradley?
I agree. I mean, we can't change the past, but it's long overdue. And with the amount of money we're dealing with that we're seeking, you've got to have managed properly. And so I think it's a great idea and a good job to bring this to us.
You know, people are always saying, oh, apply for this grant, apply for that grant, apply for the other grant. But then there's all the paperwork and the monitoring and all that afterwards.
And the new city manager may come to you with a recommendation to continue a contract for be the grants manager for the city as well as a grants writer for the city. But I think that should be the decision of the new city manager, not me. So that's why we're ending it once the policy comes into place. That'll be the foundation.
Any further discussion? All right, open this up to public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak on agenda item 13? Quiet crowd tonight.
Yep.
Don't complain.
Valid.
Make a motion, we approve the contract with Brooks and Dunn for grant consulting, preparation of grants management policy.
Touches. I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Item 14, which is an update, city meeting with Flagler County local governments regarding quality of life city manager.
Pursuant to the commission direction, I've contacted the county as well as the major cities in Flagler County to Palm Coast, Bunnell, Beverly Beach. And the date that appears to be the best date, or actually the only date, where we could have our joint meeting is June 21st. They have confirmed those dates. They've also, in most cases, they've tentatively appointed 2 people to serve on their representative committee. So tonight, what I would ask, I'd recommend to the commission that you confirm June 21st being the date. I've tentatively tried to schedule the meeting at a more central location, the airport TPO conference room, but that didn't seem that it was going to work. So the letter that you have in front of you as a draft letter for the mayor to sign says we'll have the meeting here in City Hall. So the motion that I would recommend that the commission consider would be appointing June 21st as a date for the collective meeting, and then appointing 2 people from the commission to serve on the Flagler Beach committee, portion of the committee. And then what we will do, if you approve that, we have letters for Mayor Johnston to sign, and once it's signed, we'll send those off tomorrow and get a confirmation of the dates. But I have gotten verbal confirmation, as a matter of fact, email confirmation from Palm Coast that June 21st is a good date, and there will be appointments to the committee that is formed is pretty much guaranteed to be in place for June 21st.
All right, so it sounds like we have almost 3 orders of business. We need to confirm the date, make sure the draft letter is okay, give a consensus on that, and then appoint 2 people.
Right, and there was in the draft letter that you received, there was one error. There was a mistake on the date, and we've corrected that. On the final,
I was going to ask.
Yeah, there was a mistake on that as far as when the cities and the county should respond with their agenda items. So it's actually the Friday before the meeting. So.
All right, so first item of consensus would be the date, 6/21.
I'm good with that date.
Yep.
Same.
Yep, no problem.
All right, we have a consensus on that.
Seems to be a date that works for all those involved, so.
Okay, so we're good there. And next consensus item is the draft letter.
I think the letter's a very good one, as long as we correct that one date thing. That was.
I agree.
Agreed.
Okay, we have consensus on the letter. And lastly is 2 people appointed to the group.
I have a suggestion.
Commissioner Mealy.
I don't know if you're interested, but I thought as the chair that you ought to be one of the people. And I would like to do it as the most senior member of the commission. And I've dealt with people from all these communities before on other issues, and I think I would be good. So
Okay.
that's my suggestion.
So that would be kind of a motion, we'll call it. Discussion? I agree with that. I think that's a good suggestion.
I was going to say either Commissioner Spradley and the chairman to represent us on that board.
That was the nomination I was going to make, was our chair and somebody that's good at negotiating. So
I have negotiating experience too.
okay, all right.
Many years of negotiating experience. So I'm not arguing against you.
I was going to suggest myself because I'm the mayor, but, and I have a relationship with the other mayors as well. Not sure if they will be chosen from each commission, but I also agree
So
with the chair.
all municipalities, city manager are picking 2 people, correct?
That's correct.
Is staff going to be, any staff going to be involved in this?
As support, but not part of the committee.
Right, yeah.
But I also agree, the chair, it was your idea for this, and then Scott, you do have good negotiation skills, seeing your background as an attorney.
My comment is that I think all of us, any of us, I think would be good.
We're passionate about it, of course.
And I do have a special interest in it, and I think each of us has a different set of qualifications to do it. And, but I think that for me personally, I can only speak for myself. I have a strong personal interest in the quality of life here as both a resident and business owner. And so if the board saw fit to select me, then I would certainly be committed to it.
Okay, well, I think we all hopefully are not sitting up here without the personal interest in the city.
That's not at all what I was suggesting.
Well, no, I didn't think you were, but it's a qualification, hopefully, that we all have. I spent a good part of my previous life as a negotiator. I negotiated contracts, teachers' union contracts, so I have a lot of negotiations in my background. I've been to school for it. I'm not an attorney, but I have done that for a lot. So.
All right.
Chair, how would you propose that
I would say we just do this by
nominate
motion,
and
the same way we would do anything else. And, when you appoint a chair and all that's just done by motion and a vote.
well, we usually nominate one person and then another person, and then have a vote.
You can do it either way. You can do it one by one, or you can have a motion that nominates 2.
Okay.
Well,
choice, Chair.
The first suggestion I heard was from Commissioner Mealy, so we will, so let's treat that as a motion, and then we can go from there. You all okay with that? Okay, so why don't you go ahead and just make that motion?
I make a motion that the 2 people that serve on the committee representing Flagler Beach are Eric Cooley as the chair and Jane Neely.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
I didn't think there would.
I'll second it.
Oh.
You have to call.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, we'll close public comment, and we'll do this by roll call. Okay.
Sure. Commissioner Sherman?
No.
Commissioner Cooley?
Yes.
Commissioner Mealy?
Yes.
Commissioner Spradley?
No.
Vice Chair Bellheimer?
No.
Fails.
Okay. Next, the next motion is open.
Take it, Jay.
Sure, I'll make a motion to appoint Commissioner Spradley and Chairman Cooley to the Quality of Life Board. Is that okay, Verbiage, Drew?
Mm-hmm. All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
We have a motion and a second. And any members of the public wish to speak on that? Okay. And Penny, if you could roll call.
Commissioner Bellheimer?
Yes.
Commissioner Mealy?
Yes.
Commissioner Spradley?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman?
Yes.
Chair Cooley?
Yes, the motion. Motion passes unanimous.
Congratulations.
It's going to be the highest paying gig you got. Okay, so those three orders of business are complete. City manager, what else do we have pending?
Done everything you need to do, I think.
Okay, so we're good with the date, we're good with the letter, and
And I would say to the mayor, we have the letters, I believe, we have you sign them tonight. Oh, you always did? Good. Thank you very much.
all right. So we are good on that. We move on to ordinance 2023-01.
Ordinance number 2023-01, an ordinance in the city of Flagler Beach, Florida, amending the Flagler Beach Land Development Regulations to create a new Article 9 relating to engineering, design, and development, creating provisions for development review submittal, plating, construction, and inspection requirements, and stormwater management requirements, providing for severability, providing for codification, conflicts, and an effective date.
The copy you have before you has put into it the consensus and motion from your
First reading.
From your first reading on April 13th and the PAR board recommendations from their May 2nd meeting.
Okay.
All right, discussion.
I have done, that was going to be my question, that it reflects all our comments and all their comments.
Changes.
All right, everything looks good to everybody? City attorney, you're good? All right, we'll open this up, public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak on agenda item 15?
Damn, I thought you were getting ready to stand up, Bob.
You keep looking like you're about to get up. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. And Penny, if you could roll call. Or is there
I'll
any
make a motion.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2023-01, final reading.
I'll second the motion.
All right, any further discussion?
No.
All right, now you can roll call, Penny.
Commissioner Mealy?
Yes.
Commissioner Spradley?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherman?
Yes.
Commissioner Bellheimer?
Yes.
Chair Cooley?
Yes, the motion. Motion passes unanimous. All right, city attorney.
Just one, Senate Bill 170 this year brought back and has been approved and signed, brought back the business impact statement in a much watered down form from what it was 2 years ago when we were talking about it. So, but we will see starting October for most ordinances that we do, there are more exceptions this year from that requirement than there were 2 years ago too. But we will, when we do lots of ordinances, we will have to do a business impact statement. But unlike 2 years ago, that business impact statement is very simple and what we, more or less what we think is appropriate. And I think Commissioner Mealy would like to piggyback on my comment on that to make a suggestion, which we both sat in last week on a update by the league, and this is a suggestion the league made that I think Commissioner Mealy wants to pitch to you guys. If you, I'll see Commissioner for a minute.
Okay, thank you, Drew. Yes, the league suggested that we speak with the business community about what they think should be in such an impact statement. So I had asked Drew what he thought, and he thought it was a good idea. If I asked to speak at the next FB3 meeting, and they could make suggestions as to what should be in that impact statement, and I'd, see what the rest of you people think about it.
Thoughts? I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. I'll get in touch with Johnny and see what he wants to do. Thank you, Drew.
Sure. And so the real reason I was bringing it up was to remind you that if there were ordinances that you would like to get done this year, if you'd like to do it without a business impact statement, we need to do them before October. So.
Boy, it's going to be a busy summer.
No, LDRs are going to be exempt because one of the exceptions that they added to this bill this time around was anything related to comprehensive planning, Chapter 163 Florida statutes, which is where the LDRs, the requirement for LDRs come in. So the LDRs actually would be exempt because that would be a nightmare trying to do a business impact statement for an LDR rewrite. So that's one of the positives of the watering down of that bill this year. Any other questions?
The bill doesn't go into effect till October?
October.
Okay, I forgot to look at that part.
If they have a charter amendment, it's an ordinance version of other people, does that?
I'll circle back with you. I think things that go out to referendum, budget is exempt. I think referendum items were exempt. So those kind of administrative or ministerial ordinances, they have I think there's 6 or 7 things that were on that list of exempt types of ordinances. I'll just copy and paste that and I'll send it to you, Penny.
Any other questions for City Attorney? City Manager.
In the month of July, the commission has 2 major events that we need to complete. One is the executive search for the new city manager, and the second is your budget workshops with staff. I've mentioned to you in the past that I was concerned about putting both of those events together because I think there's just too much congestion and it'd be just too much activity that we need to try to separate. I've contacted our consultant on the executive search committee consultant, and they believe that we should not try to move back the executive search interviews for the new city manager. The commission should follow the July 14th, 15th date. So we're going to continue with that. I'm not going to try to move that, the search process, or make it earlier. So Rhonda and I will work on trying to come up with a budget workshop date that will be probably at least a week after the interview that you have for the city manager. That'll give you a little break in your time. It looks at this point like I'm going to recommend, and I'll provide you with more information later. I'm going to recommend this year that we try to do the budget workshops in one day. And I'll provide a format for you that would allow that to occur. But I will provide more information about that as we get further into the budget process. So that's just an update. I wanted to make sure that you were aware of what we're working on. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just as a suggestion, you might want to retain a second day just as a backup. Just as a backup.
I warned him about that too.
We, goals are good. Just have a backup plan.
Always have a backup plan, but I just wanted to try to put the encouragement on there for the one day.
But the all-day meeting that we had, the very long meeting that we had, I think could speed up our past processes.
No, I agree. I think that the material that was covered that day is going to, I think, help in condensing the budget meeting.
Yes, that was almost what would be equivalent to a budget workshop day in essence. Okay, any
Let's
questions?
have a second day just in case.
Right, just in case. Any questions for City Manager?
The more information we get prior to that date will help expedite that particular meeting.
All right. Penny.
So an update on the Dune Walkover. So it's not a lot of news. If you've noticed, they haven't been here for the week. The contractor noticed they were missing some of the needed hardware from an order that was shipped here. They believe they received that today. If not, they expect to get it tomorrow. So the crew went back to the other job they're working on, which is the Daytona Beach Pier. They're just about wrapped up with what they were doing there, and they expect to be back over here middle to late next week. They're also waiting for one of their vendors to provide them the MOT drawings to give to me so I can submit them to FDOT so we can have the road closure plan, because we're going to have to close portions of the northbound lane. There's just not enough room on the dunes for them to get the equipment, because they're going to be jetting piles and, of course, other equipment they need out there. So that is the update I have. I've also asked them to provide me with an updated project schedule, because that's off kilter now.
You're talking about the 4.
I'm talking about all the entire dune walk project, the 26, 27, how many ever it was.
Okay. The most communications I've had from people are about 17th Street.
That's been from day one.
I know.
Before we even went out to bid, it was 17th Street. I'm aware 17th Street, unfortunately, is one of those 4 that require a new footprint. So those are the only 4. I have to go to FDEP for permit. The extension of their emergency order allowed me not to have to go to them to permit the ones where we're replacing existing. But these new piling placements requires that I permit them. So, and I believe I'm also, I have to talk to Rick again. He was supposed to follow up with the architect for the drawings for the new footprint as well. I need those as well. So I can't even send those into permit until I have them in hand.
Okay. Thank you.
The redesign is a game changer. That's going to push it back.
It is, but it's necessary. When Mr. Whitson was here, he spoke to members of Fish and Wildlife and members of DEP, high-ranking members of DEP, and they understood the need for it. Those hurricanes did change the landscape of that dune, and the water is also coming up higher, the high tide. So for them to meet the building code requirements, they would have to pretty much go out into the water if we were to keep them straight in those areas. So the switchback is necessary.
All right, any other questions for Penny?
Thank you for the update, Penny.
Can we put that update on the website?
I've passed it on to Katie, so it'll be
Perfect.
in our weekly report, which is posted.
Great, thank you.
All right. CRA Director.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring something to your attention. As you know, that I am the liaison for the city at the TCC TPO committee. And I was speaking with Commissioner Sherman and asking him if he had heard anything about what I heard the last time I was at the meeting. And he said he didn't. So I thought I'd bring it up and let you know. FDOT has decided to reassign some of the streets and roads. And they decided that they wanted to change Lambert Avenue from a local road to a minor collector road. It's twofold. By doing that, if the next H comes in and there's damage, FEMA will pay. If there are any kinds of stormwater or road repairs or anything else like that, that we can apply for a grant through the TPO, we'll rank higher. And the reason why DOT decided to do that was because there's only one way in and one way out.
Right.
Now, I need to advise you that I was advised that the county does not want us to change that. At the next commission meeting, I guess we will put it on the agenda for you to go ahead and vote. I was caught completely by surprise. I had no idea about this. Apparently, someone at FDOT sent something to the city, never came to me. And the only reason why I found out about it was the gentleman that was presenting from FDOT said they hadn't heard from Flagler Beach. So, so they were trying to push me to go ahead and approve it. And I told them, I said, I can't do that. I got to go to the commission. So I'm letting you know what's involved.
How can it be considered, I'm not opposed to, if it's going to work out in the end, but how can you define Lambert Avenue as a collector road if it's a dead-end road?
That's DOT. I
Okay.
can't explain that. I'm not an engineer.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just think it's good for the city.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I just don't get why that sort of decision's on us. I would think that's, okay. So, well, we're giving up our road to them. Then it would be
It's still a city street. It doesn't change the fact that it's our road. What it changes is the fact of the road's eligibility for grant funding.
Okay. Functional classification of the road that's changing.
Thank you. Yeah, that's.
Okay. All right.
Was there any type of rationale from county feedback as to why not to?
I wasn't told. I was just told the county wanted to keep it as a local road.
Well, they do have part of that road is a county road.
It's just a little stretch of
11 properties.
Okay.
City manager, did you want to have a discussion with county about that before we vote? Do you think that would be a good idea?
I believe it would be. We have a quarterly or a monthly meetings between the managers, and I think we have another meeting in about a week, so I can bring that up. If not, I'll get a hold of the county manager.
That way we can.
Well, can we vote and then he can go with the ammunition that we're either in favor of it or not, or not a good idea?
I think the conversation beforehand is good because then at least he can report to you why the county is opposed, because that might affect any one of your vote on how you feel about the item as why the county is opposed to it.
Okay.
And I would be remiss. I'm sorry to take up your time, but I know a lot of people watch y'all on TV. I wanted to make sure everybody knew that July 4th, the Navy band will be here playing from 3 until 5. So, thank you.
And thank you.
That is a very toasty time of the day for Navy band to be playing.
That's not their first rodeo.
Yeah.
Doing it either.
Very good news. Staff in the back, any other updates you want to share? All right. And we will move to commission comments. Mayor.
I have only a couple short comments. One, I would just love to commend our lifeguard team for the heroic rescue of the chain of pulling people out of the water this past week. It was very commendable. It looked like a lot of hard work, and they are needed.
And that was a big bunch.
There was a lot of swimming.
People. Oh, yes.
And that's why they do the test.
Oh, yes. And that also falls back on Tom as a thank you for training the lifeguards and putting the proper team in place.
Perhaps a mayor?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay. We'll get them in here.
Mm-hmm. And then also, I'd like to bring up how, I don't know if everyone saw that the police department worked with their training on the stop sticks this week, and that was very exciting, seeing how we've had lots of incidents coming down A1A where those could have been used, and now we are a municipality that's a little bit better prepared in that type of situation. Then also we have our first Saturday beach cleanup, June 3rd, coming up, 9 a.m. It'd be lovely to see Flagler Beach faces at 9 a.m. Meet under the A-frame at the pier, and also that day is a brand new surf contest called Her Turn. That will be uptown, and it's a all-female surf contest, which will be fun to attend.
Humans.
Okay. But I would like to also thank city staff, Rob, Chief, Tom, and everyone else for their help with the Hang 8 dog surfing. It was a big success, so thank you. And that's it.
All right, Commissioner Sherman.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to bring up, maybe it's something that you guys would need to bring up at your, when we have the quality of life meeting, but in my conversations with Mike, I wanted to get maybe some consensus from you guys if you'd like me to either email the TPO director, executive director, or bring it up at the next TPO meeting. I'm really concerned, and I think we're probably all on the same wavelength about the intersection of Moody, Roberts, and John Anderson there. You know, looking at through my notes and looking through the capital improvement plans that the TPO has, anything in Flagler County, I think I've mentioned to you guys before, is west of us. My concern is okay, we've got those apartments coming in probably within the next, what? 4 months. Yeah, I mean, they're moving fast. We've got the townhouses moving, you know, they've broken ground over there. Palm Coast is going to have some development there on Roberts. Then on the, you know, if we're heading south through the intersection, in addition, we're going to have all the businesses that are, you know, we've approved the Midas, the dentist office that's going to be coming in addition to the veterinary clinic that's going to add more traffic to that intersection. In addition, then, if we head south, we're looking at Veranda Bay, in the near future, the other apartments that are going to be going in, as well as the car wash. So with that being said, I would like to get this maybe on the TPO's radar and FDOT's radar, that intersection, I think, is one that needs to be studied and looked at. I mean, I know we've had that really bad accident not too long ago in that intersection, but you know, looking into the crystal ball, I think this is going to be an intersection that's going to be one that we're going to have to monitor very closely.
Turn lanes would be
yes.
good. Yeah.
So I just wanted to get you guys' approval for me either to reach out to Colleen on behalf of the city or mention it at the next TPO meeting. I just wanted to make sure that Colleen's the executive director of the TPO, so I just wanted to make sure everybody was okay with maybe me taking the lead and inquiring on that.
Yeah.
What would be, either Drew or city manager, the actual best process of putting that into the right hands? Is it just have Commissioner Sherman reach out, or would it be a letter from the body, or, you know, what's the best process?
I would recommend that you authorize Commissioner Sherman to contact the TPO, and then I would think that you would possibly want to follow up on whatever develops from that at your meeting on March 21st.
Okay, consensus on that?
I have something I'd like to add to it. Speaking of the dog surfing, things were kind of busy on A1A Saturday, so I wanted to leave town. So I went down to Flagler Avenue and thought I was going to go out at the light and make it easy. Well, the traffic was backed up all the way to the maintenance building, almost at the park. So then when you got all that traffic stacked up on South Flagler Avenue, that's going to be an issue with all the construction going on, people avoiding A1A when they can, and moving down to Flagler Avenue. So that intersection's going to be, traffic's going to be stacking up there. I did speak to the police chief about it, and he had some thoughts. He apparently has spoken to someone at the TPO, so you may want to talk to the chief if you get a minute, about they're going to, at least what they can do quickly is add a left turn arrow for northbound traffic. So that'll help empty out the northbound lanes. But somewhere down the road, it's probably going to need 2 left turn lanes heading north on Flagler Avenue as well. And with 100 being part of that intersection, FDOT's going to have to get involved.
Yeah, I had a. Are you finished?
Well, the only other part of that scenario is the fact that we're getting ready to, we're designing South Flagler Avenue with a sidewalk and new driveway aprons and drainage and so forth. So it might be nice to try and have that factored in during that process, that there might be a reconfiguration of that intersection at Moody and South Flagler.
Yeah,
But I agree with what you're talking about too. we're going to be stacking up here in
So
town as
we
well.
just do 2 intersections?
Yeah,
that would be. I'll speak to Chief then about the Flagler and
Well,
oh,
Chief-
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I had a friend talk to me over the weekend at an event I was at. She lives in Ocean View, condos. Her husband, I don't know what's wrong with him, but he has an illness that sometimes requires her to get him to the hospital fast. And she was concerned, how am I going to be able to get from Ocean View up here and out onto 100 to the hospital? And, so when you talk with whoever you're going to talk with, you could use that as an example of, I'm not just trying to get to Publix more quickly. They're emergencies that people have.
Okay, so would we have a consensus on, in not just the one intersection, but 2 intersections?
Both intersections.
Yeah, both.
Yes. So we got a consensus on that?
Absolutely.
And I'll if it's okay, Mr. Abels, I'll go ahead and contact Chief about the any movement on South Flagler and Moody, and then I'll draft up an email and get. Right. Yeah, I don't want to duplicate
somebody.
Okay, so I don't want to duplicate any efforts there.
And I believe that there's also some relatively easy things they could do now, like light timing cycles and things like that. That would probably ease it. The data they're using for their light timing cycles is probably not for high volume times, and it's just not right for the times that we're busy.
Yeah. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
That was a short list. All right, well, I took one thing off of my list. I don't have to talk about getting backed up on South Flagler on Saturday. The dog surfing was cool event. A little scared to think of what it's going to be like next year, but that's a year away, so we'll wait till then.
Wait till we bring in farm animals.
They're well underway with their bridge lights. Apparently they're not done yet, but it looks a lot nicer with them all being consistent. There's a couple of them still out, but I'm guessing they'll get to that before they're done. For those who don't know, we're going to be adding 2 stop signs on southbound, or this on South Daytona at was it 13th and 17th on June 2nd. So as of June 2nd, you'll be making 2 more stops heading south on Daytona or heading north. A couple of, speaking of intersections, that same intersection down here at Flagler and Moody, if you're coming southbound to the light off the North Flagler, you got a bunch of palmettos growing in that corner in the right of way, and it blocks all view of pedestrians that are coming down off the bridge and want to cross Flagler Avenue. That needs to get cut back and cut way back. They've tried cutting it back before, but they only cut it a little bit. But they really need to cut that back to the fence line but that's an accident waiting to happen, because you can't see somebody approaching that crosswalk.
And just to add, especially since that's a right turn on red, and there's a lot of no stopping after, before going. So right. I agree.
That's what actually brought it to my attention, because I was getting ready to make a right turn on red, and here comes a person out behind the bushes. So it kind of freaked me out. The volleyball net at Wick Line, it's been torn up for a month and a half. It's pretty unsightly, and wouldn't be something that I'd want to participate using. Sandwich signs and real estate signs in the right of way. It's getting out of hand. We allowed an expansion from the downtown district for people to use sandwich signs. And they're not only putting them out in the right-of-way, they're putting them outside of the sidewalk, between the sidewalk and the street.
Where people park.
Right. And I spoke to the city manager about us turning into the city of cones, but they started picking a few of them up, so they're just scattered all over the place, and I appreciate the cleaning that up.
Can I piggyback on something, Rick, real quick for yours? You were saying banners and signs. Also, just I've noticed a lot of real estate signs that are banners on people's balconies and different things of condos. So we just need to do a real good swoop through the city and put everyone back into compliance. It's gotten a little out of hand.
Do you want me to take a look at the sign code?
Please.
Speaking of ordinances to do before Senate Bill 170 kicks in, that would be a good one if we're going to tweak sign code, because that would be business.
But we just did a sign ordinance. We just got done doing it, remember?
No.
We talked about so many signs that you could have in your yard for freedom of speech.
That was a very specific part. I mean a more broad look at the sign code. This issue particularly, the sandwich signs, the A-frame signs.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, what you did with that was limited to that one issue, and this one, again, really kind of look at it for this issue, not everything, not an overhaul. By any means, you don't need that, but for this issue on where we're having a problem and how that lines up with what your sign code prohibits.
Yes.
That's what I was talking about.
And how many signs each place can have?
That's what we had. That's what we did do. That's what the chair is talking about. Is we did do that ordinance. Is how many signs?
Yeah. Okay, never mind.
Do we want to revisit it? I mean, that's
because I'm seeing stores that
I think it's
have
an enforcement.
Yes, it's an enforcement.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If it's the number of signs, if stores have more signs advertising their store than the code requires, that's a code enforcement issue, not an ordinance issue. I just meant to look.
Signs in the right-of-way are code enforcement issue too.
They are. I just want to make sure that when we expanded that if it says right-of-way, if you're saying that they're on between sidewalk and street, to make sure that the code is prohibiting them from being between sidewalk and street, and that that's not somehow a loophole that they have found in the code. That's really what I meant to take a look at. That's what I would be looking for.
Okay.
Well, do we have a consensus to have Drew look at that?
Yes.
Yes.
Going now.
And one more thing that I've been talking to various city managers about. I haven't talked to Mr. Abels about this yet, but commercial businesses are supposed to contain and conceal their garbage. And some people do, and most don't. And it's not fair to the people that are following the rules. So I think we ought to crack down on some of these unsightly, trash cans scattered all around behind, like the dollar store on 2nd Street. You go up there, there's trash cans all over the place. They're supposed to be concealed if it's a commercial facility.
It's a code thing too.
Just like we do and many other people that do. So I'd just really like to see us clean it up a little bit.
I know I spend a lot of money every year maintaining that dumpster enclosure because the wind destroys it.
All right, that's all done. Thank you.
Commissioner Mealy.
Okay. In reading the weekly reports that we get, I'd like to commend the fire chief for all the training sessions that he's doing with his staff. The Alzheimer's one without Halifax Health, I know that's a very good one. And CPR for all members of the police department. And mental health. And eventually working towards getting ALS certification. Also, the police department training they're doing a lot of training for their officers as well. So that only benefits everybody in the city. I attended my second Family Life Center board meeting, and they have an event coming up at the Tortugas at Jackie Robinson Park. If you care to participate, all you have to do is click on the little thingy down on the bottom. I forgot what you call that.
QR code.
QR code, that's what you call it.
Or thingy.
The thingy. It should be a fun night. You know, the Budweiser area is set off for, they do that for charity groups. Set off the Budweiser section. And I've been to a couple of games. It's a lot of fun. You're like part of the game.
$35 to go to a minor league ball game. What I never saw that.
Is that?
You know how much it costs to go to a real game?
Well, I'm just thinking.
Well, is any of the ticket price part of the charity or?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
some of it. Yeah.
Got it.
The last I saw, to get tickets to a Mets game is $170 or something, like, and sitting up in nosebleed country.
This includes food too.
And it includes the food.
I just remember getting that $3 bleacher ticket.
Yeah, well, that's a long time ago.
That was a long time. 70s.
So anyway, that's up to you. I'm going to go, and I hope somebody else will go. Our Family Life Center has taken over the Volusia Rape Crisis Program that used to be run by Stuart Marchman. So they're going to be establishing an office in New Smyrna, and they're taking over all those duties. That they eventually will have satellite offices all over Volusia County as well. So that's good. I attended, as did a couple other people, the Detective Vinci's graduation from the Flagler County Leadership Institute. Very proud of her. She also graduated with her bachelor's degree the same week. So the girl's been busy. The League of Cities is looking for resolutions for the annual conference. If anybody has any ideas of things they want to submit, they have to be in by the end of June. It can be anything about federal or constitutional or statewide issues that are not legislative. You know, so all the things that we usually complain about, we can't put in for this. But
Do we have 2 meetings in July?
yes.
So this commission meeting night.
What's a commission meeting night?
Really? You're not going?
I already paid for it. I didn't.
July 8th, second Thursday.
August, that's one meeting.
August, so I didn't look.
Okay.
I'll have to check. Anyway.
Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Nah. Huh? It was a
He's like,
donation.
thanks for the
It's
donation.
a donation.
Penny, you're going to have to go now. Oh, no, you have to
Yeah.
be here too.
I'd like to remind people about Memorial Day ceremony Monday at 1 o'clock. And as Drew mentioned, I sat through the League of Cities webinar, going over the session for the year. Some things did fail, but an awful lot of things passed. And I don't know, I don't want to keep everybody, but if anybody wants, I have a roundup. I printed out the slides they used. And Edgar had some of the same bills in his report, but not all of them. But
Is there a way maybe Penny could send that out to everybody? The League of City?
Okay. I was concerned about that business one. Just see if there's any. I think you all got a notice or an email from Chris, the newspaper person.
S. Flagler?
Yeah, S. Flagler, Chris. What they thought about the HB3, which did pass. where we can't talk about diversity, equity, or inclusion in making financial decisions. That one did pass. So I hope that our investments don't talk about those three dirty words. And then my other favorite one is about the affordable housing. This is my one issue with the League of Cities that I disagree with. It's very nice that we can have affordable housing. Any developer, if he's willing to have, I think it's 70% of his development or 40% of his development as affordable housing, however you define that, then our height restrictions and our density rules go out the window. Now, it's not as bad as what I thought it was, but it's still... A little bit over. Yeah, a little bit, not much. The good thing about it is there's this Sadowski fund where money's from, when you buy a house and you pay all that money for signing all those documents, that money was supposed to go into the Sadowski fund for affordable housing. And the money has always gone there. But the legislature has always used it as, oh, we need money, so we'll take it out of that. Well, now they're going to fully fund it. We're not allowed, I thought we all along weren't allowed to use local preference for state money in construction. But
Not allowed to in federal.
oh, well, now it's state.
Depends on the grant.
Now it's state too. Partisan local elections failed. Just glad to that. That's all we need is to have to run as Republicans or Democrats. That wouldn't have been good. And the other good one that failed was about solid waste management, that we weren't going to be allowed to have our own garbage department.
Oh, that would be a disaster.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so we could have, if Charlie decides he'd rather have waste management than ours. Well, commercial. I mean, Charlie had a business. But we could have 3 or 4 or 5 different garbage companies running around, and that would take away from our own. So that didn't pass. It'll probably come back. But another good thing that passed was the wastewater and water facility operators. The reciprocal, if they come from New Jersey and you have a license, they recognize the license here. So that's a good thing. There were more, but anyway. I'll pass, not my notes, because you'll never be able to read them. I'll give this to Penny, and she can make copies for everybody. Plus, she got Edgar's final report, too. And I'm done.
All right, Commissioner Spradley.
Thank you. I'm still having the Saturday meetings at my office for any resident who would like to come by and talk about a city-related issue. Aside from flooding-related issues, which continues to dominate the topic. There are a couple of new runner-up topics that have been coming up more recently and more frequently, and it's the dune walkovers. There's great interest in when is mine going to be done, and 17th South comes up quite often. So all efforts to keep that up on the website, I'm sure, will be appreciated, and I will make sure to mention that. Also, there's one other item. I can't read my writing. Jay, can you help me read my writing? Because I can't read
I
mine.
probably could after teaching 4th grade.
Yeah. But, so there's something else that maybe I'll come back to. The Hang 8 dog surfing contest first of all, the organizers, including Eric and the mayor, well done on that. It brought not just a huge crowd to the area, but the publicity was unbelievable. I mean, I was there after I had my meetings Saturday morning at my office. I walked over there and I took some drone footage, some pictures, and I posted them at a few social media sites. And later that day, I was actually in Jacksonville on personal business. I got an email from some news director at a Jacksonville TV station wanting to know if he could use my images, including the crowd images, on the news broadcast. And he went on to say they're affiliated with Fox. So I said, sure. Well, by the time I got back to Flagler Beach that evening, I had an email from some producer at Fox News out of New York saying, we saw our local affiliate ran this story at Flagler Beach. Can we use the footage? Because we want to do, a story. And not only that, but can you connect us with one of the dog owners and hopefully with the dog, and we'll do a live interview with them. And so I got a hold of the mayor and Eric, just trying to figure out how to do it, and was able to put that together. And it happened, but here's the news. They showed that clip on Flagler Beach throughout the day Sunday. But I've been getting calls from friends of mine in North Carolina, where I grew up, and also in Orlando, who are still seeing it as recently as yesterday. They continue to run it, and it starts out talking about Flagler Beach, Florida. So that was a really unexpected benefit of that event, which is great.
It's nice to be in the news other than being destroyed by a hurricane.
Right.
You just stole some of my talking points.
Yeah. So that was quite awesome. So well done on all of that. And on the topic of good news, and I mentioned it earlier, I'll echo what I said earlier to Jennifer Cruz when she spoke, and also to Lee Richards, and also Vinny's name was mentioned, is that when we have these nuggets of good news, it's great to hear, because it's been a rough time for a while. And it's nice to see these, reports from residents about how this happened or that happened, and reports from staff about some good things that have happened. So I think it's welcome. I think it'll help the spirit in the community. Next week, we have the continued mediation of the golf course lawsuit. So can't say anything about it other than that I hope it's successful. But that's back on the radar screen for June 1st, and I'll be there for that. And that's it. I can't read what else I was going to say, so I'll try, and maybe next meeting I will.
Well, you can take a look at it while I'm talking. That was it?
Before I
That's
do
it.
that, we never have commission meetings on a Saturday.
Oh, this is a Saturday.
July 8th is a Saturday.
I must have been looking at June. I must have been looking at June, sorry.
Okay. Let me see if I can read it.
Oh. All right.
I apologize.
Was that all your points?
It is.
Okay. So a bit of news that affects residents that is on the county side is over, you can get it? No. Across the bridge, I have terrible handwriting, I might make a shot at it. Across the bridge at Wadsworth, they are adding 4 pickleball courts, which will help Flagler Beach out. And they're also doing that in a way that nothing is getting taken away. This is just an ad. So I thought that was a win. So for the Flagler Beach folks that like pickleball and don't have room over there, for whatever reason, it's going over at, that's Wadsworth. Wadsworth.
Great.
I get all my names confused. I'll put a teaser out there. I'm sure City Manager, you're going to be talking about this at an upcoming meeting, but I have to say it. NASA has inquired about our glass recycling program.
Whoa.
And that's all I'm going to say.
Oh.
And that's it. That's all you get, because I don't know anything else other than that.
I know that they have requested samples and they have been shipped to NASA.
Yeah.
Wow.
NASA. And the reason why is because we are the only ones doing it.
Yep. 5-gallon buckets.
But that's huge. And I don't know the details, though. I'm sure
I
they're
know, they're going
upcoming.
to plant a garden on the moon, and they're going to use the glass as mulch.
I told Rob, I said, pull some of your like hairs out, get some DNA mixed in there, something in space or whatever. Don't know what it's about. I'm not going to steal anybody's thunder, but I'm going to put a teaser out there and say NASA has inquired about our glass, recycled glass. So we did a thing on Saturday, and involved surfing dogs, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun. We raised money. I believe the final tally was money that's getting donated to the charity was $8,551. Is that the right number? Probably. It's 8,000 something, right? Okay, 8,000 something.
Closer.
Which was good. And, you know, the interesting part is that event is only about 50 competitors total. And that's surfing and non-surfing dogs. That's all it is. Everybody else you saw was there to watch. But the event itself consists of, you know, just, we had 20-some vendors, and a lot of those were charities, and also we had 20-some tents, and under those tents was charities, operations, and then a couple vendors that were animal related sprinkled in there as well.
Including DOT.
And DOT came out. I forgot about that. Yeah.
DOT had a tent.
And that was arranged by Chief, and it was a community outreach, and it was a very slick move because they got tons of feedback.
I bet they did.
Yeah, including people asking about walkovers. You know, and with every event, we kind of learn as we go. This is only the second year, but one of the things that I wanted to bring up that is kind of a food for thought, because there's a year to kind of kick it around, is we still have a logistics problem. I don't like saying that we have a parking problem, because during Hang 8, the city had empty parking lots. There's a logistic issue of getting people that are coming to Flagler Beach into the right spots. So you have a Hang 8, let's just say it's an event, right? You have an event in a particular area, and then everybody's drawn to that area, and our police chief did a phenomenal job putting parking posts out. Tourism did a really good job putting posts out. All the organizers put tons and tons of parking stuff out. But the issue, I believe, is information at ground level when you're driving, is directing people to get to parking areas, because all the city parking areas are within walking distance of the event. However, the only ones that got utilized were the immediate vicinity ones, and there were other city parking areas that were, well, I'm not going to say empty. There was cars in them, but they were empty, if that makes sense. What's that?
They weren't full.
They weren't full. I like that. Yep. They weren't even half full. And so that kind of, it's a learning thing. I don't have a solution for it, but I think it's something for us to kick.
I had an idea while you were sitting here. Each parking lot should have a map showing where all other available city parking lots are in the lot.
Or
so when you
QR
drive
code.
around and you don't see one.
Right. Because, Chief sent out hyperlinks to the city website. There's multiple places. City website's good for that. Tourism has a good link to all the spots, but it's a matter of getting the direction on the ground when you're in a car looking. And so that was a takeaway. Another takeaway was, and this applies, this is just general feedback for any event for us to keep in mind, as the population of the county grows. When there's any event as well, there is being able to utilize volunteers to help get people to the right parking areas. When a event is coming, part of the permitting process is you have to be determined if there's police officers that are involved, and then the police union has first right on that, but at some point in the process, there needs to be, as an organizer, the ability to bring in other support crews, whether it be COPs, REACT, or anything like that, without saying that we need to hire 4 or 5 police officers, because then that would make the entire event cost prohibitive and it would never happen to begin with. But there's volunteer organizations that can help with traffic or cars to get people where they need to go. But we have to figure out the right way to be able to work those volunteer organizations and our police union and whatever processes we have in place to help manage that. I kind of consider Hang 8 a little bit of, an experiment for that. Because outside of 4th of July, Flagler Beach doesn't really have anything that brings in a whole lot of people in a very short amount of time. So that was feedback on that. It's learnings and takeaways that you kind of pick up as you go along. But I want to thank, for Saturday morning, we didn't have a police chief. We had Chief Stoke. And so Chief Downey was Chief Stoke. He was the head surf official. So he was the chief of Stoke, and I want to thank him. I want to thank Rob Smith. Rob Smith helped us out with some tippy carts to make sure that, and by the way, I don't know if anybody was out at the beach immediately after we cleaned up, but we personally made sure that you couldn't even tell we were even there by 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock didn't exist. And then it got littered by everybody else coming in, which we saw. But Tom Gillen helped. He let us use some unused lifeguard chairs for the safety team and for the judges, and because it was so important to make sure we have eyes above the crowd, because we knew that the water line would get swarmed with people. And while we had safety team on the ground, we also wanted safety team, we call it, in the air. Not Scott's drone air, but at least up in lifeguard chairs. And Tom was very nice. He let us use some unused chairs for that, so very much appreciate it. And just the entire city staff, they were very helpful. You're dealing with rookie organizers that really have no idea what they're doing. We know how to market, we know how to do social media stuff, but as far as putting on an event, we have 2 years of experience now. And that just happened. But and it's interesting talking about the coverage is in 10 years, the last 10 years pretty much, I don't know of many times Flagler Beach has ever been on out-of-state news for anything other than just destruction, A1A destruction, pier destruction, hurricane destruction, flooded houses. And I don't know of anything that has actually happened outside of that. So it's nice to have an opportunity to be able to put Flagler Beach on the map for something other than, woe is me, the town's falling apart, we're falling into the ocean, and, don't come here. And this is the opposite message. This is like, look at us. And in addition to being in tons of different states, Chicago, Boston, New York, Carolinas, Alabama, we've gotten messages also from Canada. We were on the air in Canada. We've been on the air in Germany multiple times. They're still hearing us out in Germany. Got multiple messages from Germany. Rob Smith has family in Germany that saw it and called them. And so it's just, it's interesting. And it's nice being able to have the opportunity just to put Flagler Beach on the map for something as silly as surfing dogs. But it works. It's just, we're dog friendly, and we're a big surf community, and we have a great beach, so why not? And just for the record, since I was on camera saying that, we are not entertaining farm animals for next year. So just thank you to everybody who was involved with that. And that's all I got. Did you figure out your note?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
The other item that has come up fairly often on Saturday morning meetings with residents is about making or the desire to keep Flagler Beach headed towards pedestrian friendly and bicycle friendly and golf cart friendly. And so I have a variety of people. Some are known to the commission and others probably are not, who it's a constant theme that keeps coming up. And it comes up in the context of, as we continue to grow, we are attracting more and more people who do like to get around by foot. And it sort of blends into what we're talking about with parking accessibility. So that's just a thing that I'm hearing more of. Thank you.
Commissioner Bellarmine, you said you had something?
Yeah. Rob Smith, our sanitation director, is going to another recycling conference this year. And he asked me if I'd like to go, and I accepted that invitation unless you guys find a reason that I should.
Have a good time.
I think, Rick, there's the 3 R's in recycling. There's reduce, reuse, and recycle. Maybe we need a 4th. Rick, and a 5th is Rob.
All right. I just wanted to let you guys
Can I
know
just?
Yeah, I was wondering, because I know Ken always went with the last 2. Ken went with him.
Right, and to add on to that, I don't know if Rob has let any of you know, he's been asked to speak at that conference, at the Florida Recycling Conference, for the efforts that Flagler Beach is making with the glass recycling and now the plastic.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
To record it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, we need a recording of that.
All right, that's all you had?
When is the conference?
I could read that note, just missed it.
All right, so we'll open this up, public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak? Now it comes up. All right,
Yeah, I really
Ken,
stood
please
up
start
this
with your
time.
name and address.
Bob Cunningham, 557 North 10th Street, Flagler Beach. Since y'all are talking about changing things, or talking to the TPO and FDOT about changing things on Moody at both Flagler and John Roberts, now would probably be a good time to look at also the possibility of dropping the speed limit down to 35 and going across the bridge. By doing that, you'll allow LSVs, low-speed vehicles, which is basically a golf cart that has a tag on it that meets all DOT requirements for a vehicle, to be able to drive from the beach over to Publix. It'll also allow all our residents on the western side to drive their golf cart or drive their LSVs to the beach. It'll help reduce parking. Fewer golf carts are about a little over 3 feet wide compared to about 6 feet wide on a car. Hopefully that would help with a lot of traffic. It would also promote LSVs within the community and would still allow golf carts to operate on the beach side. So hopefully you'll have Commissioner Sherman bring that up to the TPO and FDOT as well. No. So an LSV is restricted to posted speed limits of 35 miles an hour or lower.
Right now, golf carts can't cross the bridge.
So, and an LSV can only be on a road where it's 35 or lower. So that you have to have a tag to be able to do that. So I cannot drive my LSV. I cannot get a tag and drive my LSV over the bridge because it's posted at 45 miles an hour.
Golf cars can. Golf cars can go anywhere where a car can, but golf car and an LSV are 2 different things.
I know.
Sounds like a good thing to do.
I know our citizens have been wanting that for as long as I've lived here. Yeah, forever.
Jane
Since
even
the bridge
mentioned
was
about wanting to have parking coming over to park on this side of the bridge. You could have a golf cart, Jane.
Jane doesn't have a golf cart.
Well, there again, it would have to be an LSV, not necessarily a golf cart, because golf carts are not allowed where it's 35 miles an hour or more, or on A1A or Moody.
Yeah, because regular golf carts can only go 20.
By statute,
My golf cart goes a blazing 18 miles an hour.
Okay, so by statute.
Let's let him get his comments done first.
By statute, golf carts are restricted to no more than 20 miles an hour. There are some that go faster. LSVs by statute are restricted to 25 miles an hour. But they are allowed, because they are tagged, they are allowed to drive on any road that's posted at 35 miles an hour or lower.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great idea. Thank you.
Any other members of the public have a comment? All right. See no one, we'll close public comment. Do y'all want to do a consensus on that, to have Sherman talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got it here in my notes, so I've got obviously the first point I brought up, and then Flagler Avenue and Moody. I'll speak to Chief about that. And then additionally, the reduction on the bridge 35 miles an hour, which would then allow LSUs to cross the bridge. So I can cover all that in the email. So I'll share it with Penny, so then it's on the record as well.
I also think that with all the new construction on the west side of the bridge, is going to put more cars on the bridge, and
Yes.
to lower the speed for that
Yeah.
the speed limit for that reason, I think it would be good too.
I think it all kind of fits the narrative, so I think it all kind of, it paints a picture to them. So,
Yep, and that's right in between some of our problem intersections.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments before we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Oh, my God.